my friends. I'm Brent Adams.
I'm Tony Grice.
This is the Drive Home Breakdown, episode number 52. Back after a long absence, seeing the only movie that it makes sense to see, which is Bumblebee. As we said in the pre-show, it was either this or Aquaman. Bumblebee won on a coin toss. And so now we've seen it. We've seen Bumblebee, and I think I want to start... since you're driving, on this rare episode that you're driving, normally you start with what you don't like. So that's what I'm going to start. I'm going to start with what's wrong with this movie.
Fair enough.
And that is absolutely nothing!
No, well, I beg to differ.
Oh, are you going to be brutally honest with me about it?
The first 5 minutes of the movie need to be 2 hours long.
Fair enough!
And then the rest of the movie, because it was still awesome. But man, I wanted even more of that intro.
Yeah, I agree. It was.
Man, I really enjoyed that.
Yes, and you and I are not the demographic for this movie in a certain sense. I mean, this is definitely a more G1 friendly Transformers movie than we've ever had, and that's definitely in our wheelhouse.
Yep.
But I mean, let's face it. This is a movie that really, I think, is aimed at a younger audience.
Absolutely.
Than you and I.
Absolutely.
And it's got that sensibility about it, which is great. But I mean, there's so you and I, we write, in quotes. So, we dream up ideas for movies and, talk shop all the time and stuff. And the thing is, there's ideas that we have had that were in this movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that, to me, is one of the signs that it is as fan-friendly as it is. And I was just thinking, what's the Twitter review of this movie? And it's somewhere between, well, that's more like it.
Yeah.
And, so this is what it's like to see a Star Wars movie made by someone who actually likes, a Transformers movie made by someone who actually likes Transformers.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a difference it makes.
I think, one of the things I did see kind of early in some of these reviews, because in fairness, the movie's been out, 2 weeks now, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Almost?
Yeah, 2-3 weeks.
And, I'll be honest with you. I definitely wanted to see it. I will say at one point I was kind of like, I've been burned so much on Transformers in general that,
Sure.
I kind of... It wasn't necessarily one that I was just like, we got to go see.
Yeah.
But as soon as we decided on it, I was like, you know what? I'm really excited for this, because this one definitely looked more like the kind of Transformers movie that I would enjoy. And then I did see a couple of the early reviews, and basically that was what they said. This is what we wanted all along.
Yeah.
And I guess the only thing that I have, the only fear I kind of have right now, doesn't seem like it's doing real well.
No, it doesn't. But we said that, though. We said this is not being nearly as successful financially as the previous Transformers movies, which probably means we're going to like it a lot. Well, and here we are.
But which I completely agree with, and I think we're spot on. But what I'm afraid of is that means we're not going to get more of this. Which I will say, I thought, man, that beginning scene. The beginning scene on the War for Cybertron.
Yeah, 2 hours of this, please.
It wasn't 5 minutes.
Not even.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I please let this be the whole fucking movie. Now I don't say that after the movie, meaning that I didn't like the movie. I actually really enjoyed it. I actually thought this was really good, and frankly, reminded me a lot of an episode back in the day.
Yes.
It reminded me more of...
This could have been a bottle episode of the series.
Yeah. And, it's just there's... The thing that bothers me just a little bit is okay, so we got the thing much closer to what we wanted, and it's either one, people are just burnt out, which I do think is probably it. To me, I feel a lot like this is the Solo for Transformers. This is the one that came out after, what was it, The Last Night? Was that the last one?
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
Which I will admit, the only one I have not seen.
Same with me.
And, I do feel a bit like this is Transformers fatigue.
Yep.
I hope, in my mind, to some degree this doesn't hurt the possibility of us maybe seeing more movies in this vein. Now, if they take this and they say, hey, so this has kind of wrapped up the Bay Transformers.
Yeah. But I also think it's kind of, I mean, I've seen this movie described as a soft reboot.
Okay.
And I think that it is leading into, the Hasbroverse, which,
Okay.
I don't know if this will be the first official entry.
Felt like it was a little too tied to what will happen, though, in the later movies, though, right? Or are they just going to pretend like those didn't...
That's what I'm saying. I mean, to me, it feels like they're already kind of rewriting that, because in the first Transformers movie, as I recall, there are no Transformers on Earth other than Bumblebee and Optimus Prime, and they have to, call in the troops, towards the end of the movie.
Although I think to some degree, although we do see ones coming at the, by the way, spoilers. If we
spoilers. So that's,
But I mean, you only see Optimus and Bumblebee actually there.
Right.
The others, maybe they're ones that didn't make it. Maybe they're the ones that, But anyway,
that's my point though, is that they have kind of left the door open, if they
to change
to violate the continuity if they want to.
Please violate it.
Violate it, son.
Violate it like it's on a .xxx web domain.
Right. So, yeah. I think that you and I speak for a lot of people when we say that the opening of this movie is the thing we've been waiting for since about 1987.
Man, so the thing I remember when I first heard about the original Transformers movie, or the original live action, was I cannot wait to see a representative of the Optimus that I know, but rendered in really high detail 3D modeling.
Yep.
And that and I know sometimes people I know maybe probably criticize, maybe me or and other people feel like this to a certain degree over just the look. But the look is a big part of it.
It's a huge part.
It's just a connection to that character. But they went totally like that sort of alien hybrid kind of thing. And they still had I will have to say once they get on Earth was the Triple Changers and
I can't the names of the characters are
Bumblebee still looked decent, although I still felt like he was a little too I don't know, there's still something, the whole him still losing his voice box, I felt like that to me was that, hey, we got to keep continuity with the later ones. I'm like, fuck that, just have him talk. I actually really thought the dude doing his voice in the beginning was the original voice actor, but I think you looked it up and said it wasn't.
He's too young.
Yeah, so I love that. I love that vibe, that first intro scene. You've got these characters, Wheeljack, you got fucking, I mean, you had fucking everybody.
Yeah, I saw.
And they looked like really good 3D model quality of what we used to watch.
Yes. Okay, I mean, so I picked out, I'm sure there's others that we missed.
Oh my God, there was a ton.
Wheeljack, Brawn, RC, obviously, there's that scene with Cliff Jumper.
Yeah.
Ironhide. I mean, just, the gang's all here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the moment when you saw Starscream, Skywarp, Thundercracker, immediately followed by Soundwave, Shockwave.
Yeah.
I think that was the moment when I turned to you and said, I have a massive erection.
Dude, I mean, it really was. It was one of those things it was so dense. We got so many things in such a short period of time that I wanted to replay that again and again.
Yes.
And I wanted to come back to it again. And we did a little. We got a couple flashbacks to it a couple times, but not much. It was still pretty light.
I hope that the takeaway from this movie, as far as the studio is concerned, is we want that first 5 minutes, the whole movie.
Yeah.
I hope that they're getting that message, because that is what we want. Okay. Having said that, the fun didn't end there.
No, it didn't.
I gotta say that from the first trailer we saw of this, which I watched really just let's check this piece of shit out.
Yeah.
I mean, that was absolutely my attitude going into the teaser or whatever it was.
I think I remember calling you that night because I don't think I had watched it either, and you're like, do we want to watch this Bumblebee trailer? It was kind of like that, and I think I even remember saying, hey, because I've said this to you before. I've heard this one might be, like this one might be.
Maybe this is going to be the one.
Maybe this is the one.
Right.
And but anyway.
So yeah, we watched that first trailer, and I remember like getting to the end of it and saying that actually doesn't look bad. I mean, the whole notion of it. I mean, there's a lot of clever ideas in it. I think there's kind of like three main pillars that help it stand up for me. Number one, I love the Iron Giant angle. Like the idea of doing like a Transformers movie as an Iron Giant story. That's brilliant. That's a really great idea. So the fact that it's a girl, it's kind of like a teenage, coming of age story.
Yep.
Is great. I think that's a great angle for it. I love Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah, I thought she did awesome.
She's a tremendous actor, and I'm over the moon that she agreed to do this because I think she really brought something to it. And then the third thing is it being not just a period film, not just the fact that it's set in '87, but the fact that the movie is made as if it was made in '87, that it's got like 80s sensibilities. It's not just a period film, but it's like a retro period film.
Yeah.
That is another really, really clever idea. And there's so much that I will forgive. I mean, there's humor in the movie that doesn't really hit for me. Again, like kids would probably get into, or just just younger people in general would probably get into that. It doesn't really do much for me. That I can forgive so much of that because the spirit behind it is one that I really appreciate, but also there are some really clever ideas just in the construction of the movie. Those three things being the chief ones.
I tell you, a big part of the angle that I think was maybe a little weaker, and I wouldn't say bad. It was just a little weaker. I think the weakest angle of it was everything to do with the military.
Yeah.
Like, I actually, John Cena's fine.
Yeah.
I actually think he did fine. I think I think he played the role as it was written exactly what they wanted.
No problem.
I felt like a lot of the dialogue was his dialogue. I thought especially was really hammy and very over the top, but I think that's what it called for. I did think there was a couple of like really funny little lines that aren't like, bend over laugh, I can't stop laughing funny, but they were just that like, are we kidding? They're called the Decepticons. I didn't
like red flag for anyone.
I love the idea that like,
somebody just says what everyone thinks.
Exactly. Like that's such a like, I'm watching with my mom and she's like, would they not think that that's kind of weird? Like that's the kind of thing of just a person that is not connected to these worlds would say.
Yeah, I thought that was a really clever line.
There was another one too that was like a laugh out loud moment. What was that one? Oh God, there was something they said that was just so on the nose of like what, man, I was trying to remember it and I'm blanking about it. Hopefully I'll remember it again in a minute. But there was a lot of like really funny lines in general. I thought they did a good job of like fan service, but not a movie solely for the purpose of fan service, where it's just
that's well put.
We're like when they did something in general, it felt like it had a purpose. It wasn't just like, oh hey, well okay, like you called out and you were spot on, but that scene where near the end where Bumblebee's fighting the blue robot.
Justin Thoreau. I think it's Dropkick.
Dropkick.
Yeah, Dropkick. Justin Thoreau.
So he like is fighting, then he kind of throws him, and as he throws him, he like transforms into the bug, drives off, curves back around, drives towards him, transforms again, tackles him, and fucking starts beating.
It's exactly that fucking scene where Hot Rod and Unicron are fighting over the Matrix, or Hot Rod and Galvatron are fighting over the Matrix inside Unicron. It is that exact thing.
And I think that
was like, yes!
That is such a cool thing where it's like it made sense within the world of that movie, but it's also this callback to something that everyone does.
Yeah.
Remember, it's like a cool scene. I mean, it just makes sense.
Well, and that's the thing. Like that's the kind of stuff that has been missing from this series. Like that's the kind of that's the kind of fan service I want. Like it's not like so fucking over the top that they're like, oh hey everybody, remember when this happened? It's not that, but. That it's such a subtle thing that you only pick out that moment is if you're us and you've watched Transformers the movie a fucking 36 times or whatever in your life, and you just know every moment of that movie by heart. And so like you never think to throw anything like that into a movie like this if you're not on that same level.
Yeah.
Which I'm just so thankful. This is that intangible quality that has been missing from all of the Michael Bay films. The intangible quality in this movie is like, hey, isn't Transformers great? And in all the Michael Bay films, it's like, I fucking hate Transformers and I fucking hate you. Give me your money.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I think the franchise, as a whole, the thing that I had the biggest problem with was I never felt like the relationship between Autobots and humans resonated the same way it did back in the old cartoon.
Yeah,
the old cartoon, it was like, look, we came here and now the Decepticons, we've brought this battle to this world, which is not our own. It is our duty to protect the people of this planet.
Right. We created this problem for them.
We created this problem. We need to take care. We need to, whatever.
We got to own that. We got to have the responsibility to deal with it.
And just, and admittedly, I will admit, like, that's it's probably a character trope or something that is maybe seen as a little too naive, a little too, I'm the hero and I will take on all the responsibility. Maybe that seems a little corny, but that's what made those so good. And you can write it in a way that there can still be drama and stuff. But it felt like even in the very first one, like, I used to joke, like, one of the Autobots like pisses on one of the humans, with oil, carburetor oil or whatever it was, and like.
And I believe he does that after asking if he can murder the human.
Very, very, very true. Like, there's always this kind of thing of like,
always grated on me. Really,
they were just
really hardcore.
It was not the same relationship. Now the Decepticons, I actually felt like they usually handled them fine. They were just generic
exactly
bad
like
guys.
the Autobots.
Exactly, like in those movies.
The Autobots in the Michael Bay films are basically the Decepticons from the
they felt like it,
the cartoon.
Whenever people talk about Optimus being like such a heroic figure from the new movies, I'm like, what were you like? I think that because I'm thinking of
when did that happen?
What
I must have missed the part where he was heroic in the Michael Bay movies.
I mean, I'm not saying there's nothing, but it just does not have the same. It just does not have the same feel to me. Right. I think people that feel that way sometimes, honestly, are putting upon memories from older times, or they're like, well, we're told he's the hero, so he's got to be the hero.
He must be the hero because the movie said he was the hero. I think I might have remembered the laugh out loud moment you were talking about.
Okay,
is it when they so Angela Bassett plays Shatter, Justin Theroux's Dropkick. So when Shatter and Dropkick show up,
yes,
and he blasts that redneck. From the car that they copied.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He blasts the redneck and he goes, I like the way they pop.
Well, okay, that was funny. I think the one I'm thinking of, I thought you were going this way. It was when they first meet the military.
Yeah, okay.
And she's like, I think I've got a plan. Follow me. And then she's like, people of Earth. And he's like,
what are you doing?
What are you doing? It's like, it was the most sort of like, I love that tone. Like, what are you doing? And he's just like, she's I was like, okay, whatever. Like, we don't have to really do this, do we? We're more powerful. We can just blast them. We can we can do whatever we want. I think it was a fucking eagle right there.
Like a bald eagle?
Or no, it looked like just a brown. It's like brown. Maybe it's a hawk.
Okay, yeah, it could be a hawk.
Fucking huge though.
They get pretty big.
But anyway, like I love that sort of like. Just kind of like, why are we even doing? Like kind of like, is this like again? It was that sort of thing of like this. Someone else looking out, be like, why don't they just blow them up? Like they're stronger than them, and we understand that would be boring. We need to kind of find this way for them to like, get in good with them and yada yada yada. But that was the one I was thinking of.
The thing. I even turned to you in a moment. I'm like, it's like such a Decepticon thing to say.
Yes, yeah.
I like the way they pop. It's just like I can see like Skywarp or Thundercracker saying something like that.
Yeah, it's maybe a little too violent for the cartoon, but I can definitely it's in the spirit of those characters.
It is, and frankly, just the whole deception angle, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
The fact that they really play on that, the fact that the Decepticons sort of do
are
what
deceptive.
is in their namesake.
Yeah.
They deceive. I really like the fact that they went through that whole thread. I thought it led to some interesting places, and it allowed for some humor. Like that line that John Cena has that we both thought was so funny.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of decent ideas in the movie. I mean, like I said, like honestly, the things that I didn't care for as much are really just down to the fact that they were aiming for somebody younger than me.
Yeah.
And I don't begrudge them that at all. They built so much goodwill with me in the opening scene and all the little flourishes and things that that let me know that this is a Transformers movie for people who actually fucking like Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
That I'll give them all of that stuff. I'll give them every bit of it because I like everything else about it so much.
And I think like they had the kind of again she's the kind of coming of age story for her, and then has the guy across the street that is too nervous to talk to her stuff. I thought that was fine. It did feel to me a little it like what you're talking about. That was striking at maybe just a little bit younger audience. I felt some of it was a little campy, a little over the top. The one thing, that scene where they go to the beach
the cliffs,
or whatever, go to the cliffs,
yeah.
And
there's a teen party breaking out at the cliffs.
There's a teen party, and then I was telling you, there's this one like idea that I've never understood, but it's the idea that if like someone's parent has died, like that's somehow, even for the worst of the worst in high school, cliques and things like that, that's somehow still fair game for poking fun at.
That's
And
right.
I'm like, I don't care. Like your worst enemy in high school, if their parent died, you're just like, oh shit.
Oh,
man.
I'm sorry.
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna give you shit today. My bad. Like, but they're like, oh, or would you rather have your dad? I forgot he's fucking dead. What? Like, are you serious?
Yeah.
This is a thing?
But now here's the thing: you and I did not grow up in Los Angeles.
That is
we
true.
Like like that sort of like that Beverly Hills 90210 kind of high school prima donna. Like, I mean, that could be an entirely different animal that you and I, like, we just don't know.
I guess so.
How
Maybe,
bad that can be.
Maybe so.
We might be underestimating.
And hell, maybe that is a thing now. I don't. The world's in a whole different place nowadays. But I don't know. Like, I
mean, like that feels, again, in the spirit of like 80s movies.
It
Like
does
that
feel
feels
like
like the kind of thing that
It's so much of this movie had this just oddly perfect 80s feel. And it wasn't really just like the music. Matter of fact, I'd almost argue at a certain point the music almost started to hurt it. Because like there's a couple times where the music helped, and then it was just like, oh, we got to crank up an 80s hit again, to remind people where we're at. Like there's a time of like, oh, okay, we got it, we're good, and they, what was that one song they started playing when she first starts working on Bumblebee? That was the first one I was kind of like, okay, we got it. It was Robert Palmer, like Addicted to Love or something.
No,
or what was it?
It was fucking. It's that Higher Love song.
Higher Love. Yeah, that's right.
That one.
And I kind of remember that point. It's like, okay, we got it. We're in the 80s.
Yeah.
We get the.
And I turned to you at some point. I was like, like if they throw Caribbean Queen in here, I get bingo.
Yeah. There was two things. I think you called that Caribbean Queen would be in there, and I'll be honest, I was on board with that. I thought you probably were right, but that didn't happen. But the one I thought was totally going to happen at some point was like, especially with the kind of acting John Cena was doing, like the sort of a little more hammy than in a just straight action flick where it's not meant to be taken a little with tongue in cheek. Was I totally expected him to do a thing where he like waved at Bumblebee, and Bumblebee did the like John Cena waving his hand in front of his face like, you can't see me or whatever,
Right. Can't see me coming.
I totally saw that coming, and it didn't happen. Trying to think what else. The things I really liked about it.
I really liked her Motorhead t-shirt.
Her Motorhead t-shirt was good. Her Elvis Costello t-shirt, was that good?
Less so for me. I'm not going to begrudge anybody that. I mean, I like Elvis Costello. It's just that's not really my.
I'm with you.
Music.
The things I really liked is I actually thought for the for the time frame they have to work in and everything. I thought they created a relatively believable bond between Bumblebee and
Charlie.
I thought. These movies, it's always, everything is sped up. I mean, like in real life, it would not, you wouldn't get that kind of bond with just that time frame. But they sort of slowly built it up. She was kind of vulnerable because she needed, she sort of needed somebody that was just there just for her. That at that moment he needed, someone he could trust. And they really, I thought they did a good job. The one thing I do hate, and they totally cop to it at the very end, is like there's so many times where, hey, if Bumblebee could just scan a helicopter and they fly away,
right,
we'd be in great shape. But I guess maybe he doesn't have that ability. Oh no, let's just scan a Camaro at the end and fucking turn into a Camaro, because if we could be a Camaro, we'd definitely be a Camaro.
Right. I
don't think that's a sentence anybody ever says, right?
No one ever said that.
I totally expected him to turn into a yellow version of the Corvette, the old Corvette.
Yeah, you can kind of see that coming.
I really thought that was going to happen, but.
All right, so let's talk about, this is one of those things that, and you know me, I don't tend to be one of those awesomely bad cinema people. I understand. I don't tend to like movies because they're so bad or I hate them.
In general, I'm pretty much the same way too. So,
however, there is one aspect of awesomely bad cinema in this movie that I do find kind of charming, and that is my dad's dead. The last time I saw him was at my swim meet. And now I have a fear of diving.
Yeah.
Like the post-traumatic vertigo thing.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, I find that so fucking cheesy. And yet, it does feel so at home in this kind of retro 80s thing. Like, it's exactly the kind of thing that you'd expect to see. Like,
it still feels cheesy, but the cheese that you want to feel from the world that they built,
Yeah, exactly. But it's provolone cheese. It's not that oily American garbage.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I do agree. It was like that. I kind of remember thinking, as soon as they mentioned something about her diving trophies, and I was just like, okay, we're going to come back to this.
Call back.
Then he watches the video and she's like, oh, she's so good at diving. And I was like, oh God, she killed her father diving one day or something. Like I was trying to imagine what the tragic end to her father was that. And I am actually a little glad they didn't go for something, weirdly tragic. He had a heart attack, and she didn't get to say bye. I mean, that's, it's still sad and it still serves the purpose, but it's not just like, she went to do a triple axel dive and the water splashed him his eye and he fell back into a, wood chipper and fucking, it's like, what? How would that? Why would that even be there?
He was trying to videotape her doing this incredible move, and he broke his neck trying to twist the camera to the right position, and she blames herself now. Or even worse, that, it would have, somehow it would have been the Decepticons' fault. Like she thought he was killed in a car accident, but it was no car.
It was Vision Wave. He was an old VHS-C camcorder.
Yeah.
And then transformed and killed him.
Yeah, I'm really glad they didn't go that way.
I am glad they kind of kept away from some of that stuff.
So, but anyway, there at the end, where Bumblebee floods the dry dock that they're fighting in, him and Angela Bassett's Transformer.
Yeah.
I've scrolled past her name now.
Red Transformer.
Yeah, Red Transformer.
Red triple chain.
Shatter. When they're fighting down there and it floods, and you totally called it. You were like, "Guess we're gonna have to dive."
Yeah, I didn't think about it until you said it. They don't show her stand on that platform until right before, but it's like they show her climbing up the ladder, and I was just like, what are we coming up to? And then as soon as she takes her jacket off, I'm like, here we go.
Here it goes.
Here's and the dive is going to be important. I'm like, I'm pretty sure at that point she could have cannonballed or something.
Yeah,
like,
she could have just gone in feet first.
She would have survived, but
yeah, they totally. I mean, give them credit for setting it up, calling it back, and paying it off.
Yeah.
I mean, they stuck to the formula.
They did.
They stuck to the formula with that one.
I thought she was really good. I really did think she did a great job. I really liked the kid that played Memo. I liked him because he played just the right amount of awkward, but
Jorge Lindenborg Jr.
not a complete idiot kind of thing.
And there was so much in his room to call out with, starting with the Thing poster, the Raiders poster, the Tom Baker Doctor Who picture on the.
I'm not gonna lie, I was looking my damnedest because I was so praying that there was a GoBots poster in the background.
Oh,
I was like, that would have been the ultimate, like, you know, fucking troll to just be like,
Yeah.
you know, a GoBots poster in his back of his room.
That would have been pretty rad. But yeah, I liked him. You know, actually, and that brings me to something else that I'm glad they didn't do. I really liked the moment at the end of the movie where they just sort of like they walk down to like her family's got that little patio that like looks out over the bay or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they walk down there, and he like tries to hold her hand, and she's like, "We're not there yet.
We're not there yet."
I like that's one of those things that has like always kind of bugged me about like the action movie romance, where it's like we've been through some traumatic experiences.
So now
let's have a kiss.
Let's have a full-on tongue deep kiss for the first for our first time.
We've almost died a few times. Now we're in love,
and it's for the first time. Sorry, it's the.
Oh, I got you.
You're okay.
It's like that has always bugged me. Like it's always felt like just so kind of forced. Like I don't like it's some like old thing. Like, you know, like there's got to be some romance in the movie. I'm like, there doesn't have to be.
He has to get the girl by the end. You know, like there's that. It
can just be about we survived this.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I like it. I thought
like Hicks and Ripley in Aliens. Like to me, like that always felt so right.
Yeah.
Like there's a little bit of like there's a little bit of flirtation. There's some connection between them.
Sure.
But we do not have time to go into that because we're trying to fucking figure out how to stay alive.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I always thought like that was the template to follow.
I do think
and they kind of do something like that here.
You know, the one, like, you know, I think it goes back to things like, you know, like Bond at the end of the movie always gets the girl. It's something, you know, there's some element of that, and I will admit, on the whole, it doesn't really bother me too much.
Well,
like
fine
it's just
in a James
fine.
Bond movie because it's a fucking James Bond.
Well, and I was gonna say it's fine with like a movie where, to be fair, where it's adults. I'm glad they don't do it with kids. Just to be honest with you, I just think it's like, hey, look, I just don't think. I mean, I say kids, I know they're 18, but whatever. You know, it's like I like that they kind of play it as like, you know, hey, it just sort of happens sometimes.
Right.
That beeping is totally normal.
It's totally fine. The car is gonna run.
Randomly
it's
happens
gonna keep
sometimes.
running. It's no problem.
Look, this car is 25 years old.
Maybe maybe your car is a transformer that can't speak, and this is its way of like telling us, like, no, my bullshit detector's going off. You totally like unnecessary romance in action movies.
It's raving on how happy it is that we finally got a good Transformers movie.
Yep, that is definitely the sound of a happy car. No doubt about it.
So I'm trying to think of what else. Was there any other things that you took issue with?
No, really, there was very little. And I mean, you know, honestly, this is one of those things that I mean, I'll be brutally honest in the vein of Tony Grice and say that in the cold light of day, if the Michael Bay, honestly, what this movie is this movie is Ant-Man. This is the Ant-Man of the Transformers movies.
Okay.
And the Michael Bay movies are the first half of Ant-Man, and this movie is the second half of Ant-Man. If the Michael Bay films hadn't disappointed me so thoroughly, I surely would be picking apart this movie with much, much more veracity than I'm doing. The fact that I went through all those Michael Bay movies, all four that we saw, the fact that I went through all those and was just so disappointed and so just offended as, you know, as a human being, as a film fan, as a Transformers fan, that is the reason I can let some of these things go in this movie.
Sure.
Because I've been so desperate to have something even remotely in the wheelhouse of what we've wanted.
I think it's totally valid.
And I got that and more. You know, like those Michael Bay movies lowered my expectations so much that this movie, even with all the sort of like the fluff and the cheese and everything that it does have, I'm just like, oh, it's charming. I love it.
Yeah.
You know, and without the Michael Bay movies, I would be like, oh, it was so cheesy, and why did they need this? You know.
Yeah,
I can forgive it all.
I think it's a very valid point, because I do think there's stuff in here that probably would bother me more, but I'm just like, hey, they did that way better than they've done it before. You know, they did enough things really well that I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It was lighthearted. I also kind of like, I mean, I guess in a sense, the fate of the world is at hand, you know, is a possibility. But really, we never quite got there. You know, like, it always feels like a lot of these movies, it's just like, we got to get to the, you know, like one more second ticks over on the clock and the whole universe explodes, you know, kind of thing. Yeah. And this, I felt like they did a good job of You know, it's a threat. There's something going on, but that's kind of secondary to, you know, telling these characters' story and getting, you know, just getting these Decepticons dead and getting Bumblebee out of there.
You know, in a sense, it's actually kind of like it's a little bit like the Marvel movie method.
Mm-hmm.
The Avengers movies, like that is like, you know, the world is ending, the universe is ending. You know, like that's where the stakes are really high. The solo films, there's definitely a threat. The situation is dire.
Yeah.
But generally, it is more about a.
That's kind of a backdrop
There's more of a character
Yeah.
kind of drama going on, or more of a character conflict.
Yeah.
And since this is a solo movie, this is a Transformers, you know, solo flick, it kind of follows that formula in a way. Now, I'm not necessarily saying like, oh, they looked at Marvel and said, let's do that. I think, you know, that's just where the sensibilities went.
I'm sure everybody looks to a certain degree and just see that concept of more, maybe a little more consistency around doing certain things a certain way. I think that probably plays to more people than maybe we even realize, you know.
But it is in keeping with the fact that this is a more character-driven film.
Yeah.
Or I say more. This is a character-driven film. You know, when the title of the movie is a fucking character's name, you can guess that it's going to be a character-driven movie. And that is definitely the case here.
I would love if, you know, we've not really heard a whole lot about the Hasbro shared universe stuff in a while.
Yep.
I mean, you know, really about the only thing I've heard is that it's still on.
It's happening.
And they're still doing it. I did hear. Did we talk about Snake Eyes?
We talked about the other night. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I knew. I mean, I couldn't remember if we had. And I was thinking we had.
Yeah.
You know, so they've announced that they are doing the next G.I. Joe movie is a standalone Snake Eyes film, and it is a reboot. It's not connected to the previous ones.
Fine.
And
No
absolutely.
problem.
Matter of fact,
fucking
unless I'm wrong, because I haven't. You know, I was out of comics by the time that the G.I. Joe there was an old school G.I. Joe Transformers crossover, but
Not
I guess
the current
the
one
more recent one that is, I guess, better known right these days. But I'm pretty sure that Snake Eyes and Bumblebee were connecting lines in it to some degree.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe that's what this is. You know, maybe
we're going to see the first
soft
crossover.
reboot for Bumblebee. You know, just straight reboot for G.I. Joe with Snake Eyes, and maybe we get some kind of tease at the end of that of like, you know,
make some tag scene.
Some tag scene that
over.
Yeah, I would love that. I really would.
Dude, that would be tremendous. You were driving awfully fast to have a giant blade attached
that
to the
sticks
front
out
of your
like
vehicle.
a foot from the edge of your damn truck. Anyway,
you know, Snake Eyes, like, there is an 80s cartoon icon who doesn't talk, and I can get behind that.
yeah,
I have to say, like, I still kind of resent the whole Bumblebee not talking thing, but like Snake Eyes not talking, I'm fine with that.
yeah, no,
It's weird how it doesn't bother me. Anyway, that
I like how I will say how they explained it in this film. I actually thought was okay. If you're gonna try to keep the continuity, then you know what, I think it's a little fine. Now the whole thing of like, well, his voice box got ripped out and all this sort of stuff, but then I kind of go back to, well, why did he just rip his voice box out and not kill him? You know,
right.
But okay, but we'll
I'll
leave
rip your
it at
voice
that.
box out and throw you down a cliff.
And then hope that you sorry, I didn't even notice that. That you end up dying. I guess, you know.
That's the end result I'm going for. I'm just not really going to do all that much in pursuit of it.
But
here's my bottom line. I just thought of it. This is my bottom line on this movie. If I have to endure the sort of like the connections that this movie has to the Michael Bay series, and there are plenty. I mean, the fact that, you know, the Transformers can, you know, just like randomly reassign their vehicle shapes
at any moment,
or their vehicle forms. You know, just like the overall aesthetic of Bumblebee. I mean, you know, Bumblebee definitely looks more like he does in the Michael Bay films than he did like in the fucking cartoon.
Sure.
As opposed to
It's
like
somewhere-
Optimus Prime or something, you know.
somewhere in the middle, kind of.
But so that's the thing. Like if I have to kind of endure this movie mixing G1 stuff and Michael Bay stuff in order to get this movie, and potentially for this movie to serve as a soft reboot and get another movie, another iteration of this that like moves even more in a G1 friendly direction, I'll take it. Like, if I have to endure that in this film, fine, because there's enough in this movie that I like.
I hope this is one of those movies where people just aren't seeing it because of the fatigue. Because if
Me
they're
too.
not seeing it, or in a way, I almost don't care why they're not seeing it.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, I hope the studio does research comes back and says, yeah, people just having Transformer fatigue, but the people who saw it liked it,
Right?
Because really, that is what I've seen. Like the handful of people. Although this thing, maybe even more than Solo. We were talking about Solo earlier, and maybe even more so than that movie, where there was kind of like this. Yeah, I didn't even see it. But I've heard it's okay.
Yeah.
I've talked to almost no one that's seen this film. None of the people that I would really, that are the kind of people that, like, one of the guys I know that has gone to see Aquaman like 4 times now, has not seen Bumblebee, and he usually sees the other Transformers movies. So it's a little weird to me why this one doesn't resonate with some people as much, like, or why the fatigue is like stronger with this with this film. And to be fair, maybe it's just fatigue in general. Like, I do think there's almost a little, like, bordering on a little bit of fatigue of just these huge blockbusters that keep coming out. Like, it's kind of like, okay, some of them we really like, but there's so many of them now that it's like, man, I almost can't. If it's not a Marvel one, if it's we got Marvel, we got DC, we've got Transformers, we got Star Wars, we got like there's a million different big huge franchises just keep going. I'm really hoping that's what it is, because I hope that it's not just like, we just really didn't like that. We like the other stuff. Cause
that's the worst case. The worst case scenario is that people see this movie and they're like, no, I prefer the Michael Bay movies to that one. That would just break my heart.
Oh my God, I can't do it. I can't do it, Brent.
Well, I got to say that I'm really glad that Bumblebee won the coin toss.
Yeah, I am too, actually.
I really am. I felt similar to you. I was really excited that we were going to see this. I would not have minded seeing Aquaman. I'm curious about it. I hear
I'm still
people
going
talk
to
about
see
really
it.
good.
At some point. But
I'm not. It's not as though we didn't go see Aquaman because we're like, oh, fuck the DC. We're done with all that. I mean, it's not that at all. I'm really curious about seeing Aquaman, but I'm really glad that we saw Bumblebee. I have to say, that first trailer, I remember thinking, like, almost letting myself hope, which I found scary. Almost letting myself hope, like, gee, that feels like it could be good. Like, that feels like that could be something. And I got to say that the movie really delivered. The movie really came through and felt the way that I felt watching the trailer.
I would agree. I would actually say that on the whole, because I think I tried to go into it with, managed expectations, just trying to, hey, don't get too excited, but I do think it looks, better than what we've had before. And I think I came away feeling even more positive about it. Like, I think it really did well. The only little hiccup is that first 5 minutes of the film. I could take that. I could take that for 10 movies.
Yep.
You could do that style. And I don't know who in their right mind wouldn't, with tie the story around it. Do hell, do the series. You could do. There's all kinds of little 4-episode things they've done. Like, there's all kinds of stuff you could do. Do it in that style. Who wouldn't love that? So that was my only sort of like because I really will say, like, we literally look. What is going on?
Yeah.
Like, we're like losing our shit. Like,
we were.
If this is the fucking movie, like, I knew that wasn't gonna be the whole movie.
Yeah.
But I was like, if we were gonna get this quality of that stuff throughout the whole movie, this may be the greatest fucking movie of all time.
Yep.
In reality, that was the majority of it. We got a few little things here or there, but that was the majority of that.
But the little bit
world.
we had was 100%.
Oh my God.
It was 100%, baby. Oh, quality, not quantity. But maybe quantity will follow later.
I hope so.
I hope so too. So listen, gang, if you're listening to this, and we thank you if you are, and you have seen Bumblebee and you got a thought, or even if you don't, even if you haven't seen it and you got a thought on it, we'd love to hear it. You can hit us up on Twitter at Breakdown Show, and of course you can find us on drivehomebreakdown.com. We'd love to know what you guys think. Go and check out this movie. If you're remotely interested in Transformers, you should watch this because it's good. We liked it, and therefore that makes it good.
Because we're right.
Because we're right, and Michael Bay's wrong. I think we can all agree on that.
I think all you have to do is look at our bank accounts to know. Oh,
Wait.
that's bad. That's a bad.
Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for commenting. Come to the website. Hit us up on Twitter. Let us know what's going on. We'd love to hear from you and your thoughts on Bumblebee if you have seen it. We'll catch you next time on another edition of the Drive Home Breakdown. Until then, the breakdown rolls on.